Boys. Hello, everybody. Dennis Prager with you. I hope you had a good weekend. The world is not having good weekends. The country is having a troubled time. It's really amazing when you think about it. There is no reason. There really is no good reason. See, that when the Depression occurred, there was, so to speak, good reason. Something happened to the economic system. It was a terrible downturn. It had to be addressed. People suffered, obviously, although interestingly, there is a greater suicide rate today than there was during the Depression. All of these things are human manufactured. And it could have been a time of peace. It could have been a time of prosperity. And that bothers a lot of people. There are a lot of bad actors on Earth. After October 7th, not that you needed October 7th, of course. If you still think people are basically good, that human nature is basically good, it's a living proof that people believe what they want to believe. So you have all of this. And it is just, it bothers people when a lot of people are bothered by calm. The Palestinians, for example, a major reason for the atrocities of October 7th was that a calm would have prevailed over the Middle East. Saudi Arabia was about to have relations with Israel. There was about to be more calm. But Iran doesn't want that. Iran wants Israel destroyed. People don't take this seriously. I've been talking about this all of my life. There is no other exterminationist hatred in the world. Name me a country, let alone countries, that are devoted to the annihilation of another country. And it has nothing to do with land, etc. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is not about land. It is about any existence of a Jewish state, period. I give the example regularly of Pakistan, founded the same year Israel was. Far, far more refugees, far, far more death, more rapes, more murders, trains sent of Hindus, dead Hindus back into India, and dead Muslims into Pakistan. Pakistan never existed. Israel existed 2,500 years ago and 2,000 years ago, and Jews have been living there ever since. There was no Pakistan. It was founded from blood. There was no Bangladesh, founded out of blood. Massive bloodshed. That was Muslim, by the way. So, there's no... Why is Pakistan legal? Why is its status accepted, but little Israel isn't? Russia invades Ukraine. There was too much calm there. The United States of America, prosperous and free, and the left just wants to bring it down. At the Metropolitan Opera, did you read about that? The Metropolitan Opera?
Yeah, I said that to me, yeah.
Giant disturbances right in the middle of the opera on behalf of combating global warming.
Yeah.
The arrogance of the left is astonishing. Do you think that pro-life people are any less committed to the sanctity of human life in the womb than global warming advocates or opponents, if you will, are to combating carbon emissions? Why don't they stop operas? Why is it always the left and their allies who have the arrogance to do this? Stop traffic on bridges, scream in the middle of operas. The answer in part is they are gods. Exactly what the serpent said to Adam and Eve. Whether you take it literally or not is of no significance, but that is the story of humanity, of the evil that is done by people who want to be gods. And what are gods? Those who determine right and wrong, not God. They determine it. I am against global warming. I can therefore disrupt the opera. I can therefore smear or even ruin a painting in a museum and glue myself to the wall. By the way, do they ever think that it works? Do people say, oh, I didn't think about that before. Now I get it. I'm going to oppose carbon emissions because this spoiled brat decided to glue herself to a museum wall. Why didn't I realize it before that? Oh, now I will combat carbon emissions because these punks disrupted the opera. I came to get away from life's difficulties and enjoy some of the greatest music ever written by human beings, to bring some joy to human beings in a difficult world. But no, why would I do that? This could have been a golden age. More people out of poverty than any time in human history. And of course, thanks to the two of the things that the left hates: capitalism and fossil fuel. Those are what made billions on earth, enabled them to rise from abject poverty. But the left doesn't care if you rise from abject poverty. They care if you use plastic straws. How's the battle on plastic straws going, by the way? I think Starbucks is back to plastic straws from the edible paper ones. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. You don't drink with a straw, so you don't know. He drinks black coffee, ladies and gentlemen. I consider that one of his virtues. Just thought I would throw that in. The rest of us compromise on coffee and have some whitener and artificial or real sweetener. What's going on in Philadelphia? There is a falafel place in Philadelphia, an Israeli Jewish-owned restaurant in downtown Philadelphia. And they're screaming. Do you have the, Sean, do you have the audio that I sent? It's only like 8 seconds. No, you don't have it? Oh. You sent it to me. Maybe give it to Sean. I'd like people to hear what they're chanting in front of these Philadelphia. It is amazing it happens in the United States. Combination of pro-Palestinian Muslims and pro-Palestinian leftists. Yeah, they screaming that the owners of the store are committing genocide. First, there's no genocide against the Palestinians. There are far more Palestinians today than there were when Israel was made. That is just an enormous lie, cheapens the word genocide. Anyone who uses it should be disqualified from normal human interaction. They have bastardized the word. They have cheapened it. All the victims of genocide, every Armenian should be protesting, putting aside every Jew, every Armenian. Oh, so that's what's happened. That's what happened to the Armenians. What Israel does to the Palestinians? Oh, they're growing. They grew in numbers under Turkish rule during World War I. Wow. That's what it deserves. Wow. Do you have the audio?
So go be, you can hide! We charge you with genocide! Go be, you can hide! We charge you with genocide!
Goldie, Goldie, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Every Christmas, I make an appeal for something related to Christmas for charity giving. This year, it's the Prison Fellowship Angel Tree Campaign. It's hard to have a problem with this one, and that is they have a gift given to a young person whose parent is in prison. A Christmas gift to the child, and they give a Bible to the child. And they try to bring a note from the parent as well. It's quite a powerful thing. It's only $25 a donation, and that takes care of one child. 5 is obviously $125 for 5 children. Call 888-206-2801 or go to the Angel Tree banner at DennisPrager.com. 888-206-2801 or the banner at my website. It's really something. Well, all I could say is the fools, including well-meaning people that I know personally, who are all for bringing in vast numbers of people from the Middle East to Europe and the United States. That was a pretty stupid thing to do because, my friends, that has been a tragedy for the Western world. There were some wonderful people who came, but a lot of bad people because they have bad values. One of those values is hatred of the West and, of course, hatred of Israel. Hatred, it's exterminationist hatred. It is almost pre-medieval. There is nothing analogous to it. 22 Arab states are not enough. We need another one from the river to the sea. Yep, that is the way it has been, and that is the way it is. And the crime rates in in Sweden, there was virtually unheard of violent crime, rape in particular. Some people are calling Sweden the rape capital of Europe. It's overwhelmingly done by folks from the Middle East who bring a rape-like value with them. Not all by any means, but far more than native Swedes. But people thought with their emotions, and needless to say, it was led by Germany because Germany is always wrong, and that is what they did. Angela Merkel, who closed down her nuclear plants, and now Germany is bordering on economic trouble, and the German economy has been the engine of European economy, generally speaking. On a domestic issue in the United States, George Santos was expelled from Congress. 5 members of Congress have been expelled in the history of the United States Congress. 5. 3 because of their being in the Confederacy. So they earned it. No question about that. And 2 because they had been convicted of some serious crimes while in office. This is the first time in the history of the United States Congress that someone has been expelled without even being convicted of a crime. And when people have said to me all of my broadcast life, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or Tweedledee and Tweedledummer, as some have said about the Republican Party, what did I say when I joined it? I went from the bad party to the stupid party. But I have defended the Republicans much more than attacked them, because they're the only organized political opposition to the Democrats, who are working to destroy the United States as we know it. Indeed, Barack Obama acknowledged it. In 5 days, we will fundamentally transform the United States of America. You don't fundamentally transform what you admire, right? Any of you want to fundamentally transform your spouse? If you do, I suspect you don't particularly care for your spouse, because you wouldn't want to fundamentally transform what you respected. Is that fair? Of course it's fair. So now the Republicans have decided to be as corrupt as the Democrats. I'm not a fan of this George Santos. That is irrelevant. This is just another example of removing a brick from the edifice known as America's institutions. The first time in history a congressman who committed, well, I should say not committed no crime, plenty of congressmen did. Hard to believe that Harry Reid, after whom the Las Vegas airport is now named, was not corrupt in office. Became a wealthy man while in the U.S. Senate, like Joe Biden as vice president and senator. But you don't get rid of a member of Congress because you don't like them, or you think they did bad, or you're even sure they did bad. You have to be convicted first, or you had to be at least until December of 2023. That's bad. The Wall Street Journal wrote a beautiful piece on this. The unprecedented thing that has been done with over 100 Republicans voting for it. What the hell was on their mind? I would like to know what was on their mind. We will show that we are wonderful too. That's what it is. Oh, we don't tolerate a bad Republican. We'll join with you Democrats. So, of course, the same thing they now they want to do. What's it? Fetterman? Is that the guy? Pennsylvania senator. What's his name?
Yeah, Fetterman.
Fetterman.
Yeah.
Fetterman has now said, let's do that to Menendez, who's also not been convicted of any crime. Listen, if you find gold bars in a guy's freezer or refrigerator, you suspect something. Okay, I agree. And that's a Democrat. So this will not end. It's astonishing. 3 were expelled when they joined the Confederacy. No other member was expelled between 1861 and 1980. Then in 1980, Democratic Representative Michael Myers was expelled after being convicted on federal bribery charges. By the way, the House Ethics Committee did not recommend that he be expelled. That is really astonishing. That's what I mean, ruining something good. Relief Factor has a new product out. Relief Factor is an amazing company. It is sleep. It supports regenerative, reviving sleep. A lot of you have sleep issues at any age. I know young people who can't sleep well at night. You should definitely try it. Relief Factor Sleep, because Relief Factor is such a terrific company. Again, go to relieffactor.com, 800-500-8384. The product is called Sleep. Yes, the amazing things that are happening. The Republican Party colluding and doing something that was just wrong. It was just wrong. And I know a lot of the stuff Santos lied about and everything. And the House Ethics Committee did not recommend that he be expelled. They even went against that. The Democrats, devoted to fundamentally transforming the United States of America, will do anything to wreck it. But the Republicans don't have to join. But they feel good. Look, you see, even though he was a Republican, we voted to expel him. That's quite something. An interesting theory about the truce that has come down. This is a very interesting headline in Times of Israel, which has been pretty truth-centered in its reporting. In the Middle East, truce fell apart after Hamas refused to release more female Israeli hostages. Israeli official, now it doesn't mean this is accurate. They don't know this to be the case, but they are reporting. This is the subhead. Israeli official says Hamas doesn't want to release remaining women because it doesn't want them speaking publicly about what they endured on October 7th and in their time in captivity. That is interesting, isn't it? Did you happen to see? Oh, of course you saw it. You sent it to me. The temporary truce between Israel and Hamas broke down this week after the Palestinian terror group that rules Gaza refused to release 10 more female hostages and instead sought to free abductees taken on October 7th from other categories in violation of the agreement. The terms of the deal, brokered by Qatar, specified that Hamas would first release all women and children being held in Gaza, and Israel would agree to a pause in fighting for up to 10 days. The deal was about women and children. We believe Hamas is lying about the number of women in their possession, an Israeli official told the Times of Israel. The truce lasted 7 days beginning last Friday, November 24th, with the first release of a group of hostages after some 50 days in Hamas captivity, and broke down early Friday morning with the resumption of fighting. One does wonder, doesn't one? They say that the baby that they kidnapped, is that a new, there's really no new evil on earth. The evil are very creative. But I've never heard of a baby taken as a captive. Have you?
No.
Okay.
Not in 100 years.
Well, not in wartime. You know, maybe the gangs in. I don't even know if the gangs in Latin America do that. God, the amount of evil in the world: Hamas, Hezbollah, Iranian regime, Putin, Chinese communist regime, the drug lords in Latin America. Every generation is a battle against evil. And in every generation, most good people fail until they get hurt directly. People do not like fighting evil. That's my theory, and I've written it very many times about the left. They don't fight real evil, so they fight make-believe evils. They're fighting systemic racism and transphobia. This is what the left is fighting. They don't fight real evil because cowardice is part of leftism. They may get hurt. So an artist will put a crucifix in a jar of urine, the famous or infamous Piss Christ, which has made tours of museums. Would they ever put anything Islamic? And I don't think they should. But would they ever put something Muslim in a jar of their urine? Of course not, because they're afraid of Muslims and they're not afraid of Christians. That's exactly why. Incidentally, talking about all of this, I reminded to remind you that I am speaking tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at Columbia University. You are not allowed in unless you are a student or faculty. If your 14th cousin is attending Columbia, please have him or her come to my talk, 6 o'clock at Lerner Auditorium or Lerner Hall. I don't remember what the term is. At Columbia University tomorrow night in New York City. I'll have a report for you, obviously, on Wednesday. What, if anything, occurred? To say the least, it should be interesting. 1-8-PRAGER 776-877-243 776. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Everybody should have gold and silver. Unfortunately, if I had more faith in the dollar, I wouldn't be as adamant, but I've always believed that we're in trouble with the dollar. The latest is starting next year, we will be spending $1 trillion a year just on interest. But I blame half the American people for this because they vote Democrat. And by the way, the Republicans have also been bad, but just not as bad. Anytime they want any limits on government spending, they are kicked out of office. Because it is harder to get off free things than it is to get off heroin. I believe that, literally. Once you start getting money or benefits for free, or what you think is free, you are hooked. And then you vote for that party. So $1 trillion in just next year on interest. So where do you get it? Get it at AmFed, Coin and Bullion, AmericanFederal.com, 800-221-7694, AmericanFederal.com. No obligation. Okay. The amount of news. Listen to this. This is a really, you want to know about the quality of human being in the deep state? Here's a story for you that I've read about on a number of occasions. I simply have to find it here. About the public letter by hundreds of members of the CIA and the State Department condemning any support for Israel. Public letter. Let me see. There's a lot. I really want you to hear about this. Here we go. Joe Biden faces a deep state revolt. Wall Street Journal, which has done great reporting. On Israel, hundreds of federal workers try to undermine his policy. President Biden has been learning lately what life is like for Republican presidents. Part of the deep state, to borrow a phrase, are revolting in opposition to his support for Israel against Hamas. This was earlier. This support is a little weaker today because they want to tell Israel how to manage the war. News reports say that no fewer than 500 appointees and staff from 40 agencies, including the National Security Council and the Justice Department, have sent Mr. Biden a letter demanding that he call for a ceasefire and a de-escalation between Israel and Hamas. Quote, Americans do not want the U.S. military to be drawn into another costly and senseless war in the Middle East. Who the hell is even talking about that? Who was even mentioned? Israel has been adamant for all of its existence. We don't want any American soldier. The signatories are bravely anonymous. That's what the Wall Street Journal writes. The same is true of more than 1,000 employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, who have reportedly signed a similar letter. We believe, it says, that further catastrophic loss of human life can only be avoided if the United States government calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, unquote. The letter adds that its backers are withholding their names, quote, out of concern for our personal safety and risk of potentially losing our jobs. God, when that happened to any Republican who spoke out, they were quiet, weren't they? If democracy means anything, the Wall Street Journal writes, perhaps they should lose their jobs. Or better yet, they should resign honorably if they can no longer support their boss's agenda. The malcontents are a sliver of the federal workforce, yet the job of the executive branch is to implement a president's policies, not run a pressure campaign to change them via anonymous letters and leaks. Unhappiness at Mr. Biden's Israel policy is also circulating at the State Department in dissent cables. One difference is that this is a normal channel for internal criticisms created amid the Vietnam War and used in recent years to raise alarms about Mr. Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. The signatories on the State Department cables aren't public knowledge, but they aren't anonymous. Part of the problem here is that civil service protections are so extensive that it is hard to discipline, much less fire, a dissenting career bureaucrat. This isn't how democratic government is supposed to work. Political appointees and bureaucrats are free to argue up the chain of command for a different course of action. If they don't succeed, they can continue to do their jobs, or else they can resign. But it is a dereliction of duty for federal workers to spend their time trying to stymie the policy of elected officials. So, I always look for comments. So the number of comments is as instructive as of what is in the comments. You know how many? This is a very short editorial. 2,066 comments. Wall Street Journal readers know this. Now, of course, there would be no such editorial in the New York Times or the Washington Post. You are right, by the way. I am pointing to my producer. He said for years the Washington Post is worse than the New York Times. I now believe that. I read a long piece that one of their chief editors wrote on the Middle East. It was beyond belief. It's fascinating. I wrote a book on anti-Semitism. The third edition is out. Why the Jews, and you know what the subtitle is? The subtitle is The Greatest Predictor of Human Evil. That's exactly what is happening. The Jews are the canary in the mine, but the canary is killed by noxious fumes, by poisonous fumes, fatal fumes. The fatal fumes are now all over the place. What happened this weekend was an Islamic terrorist killed somebody, just murdered someone in Paris. Was it a Jew or was it a random? No, I think it was just a random tourist, I think.
It was a German tourist.
A German tourist. Yeah. If you're not Jewish, you are stupid if you think anti-Semitism is the Jews' problem alone. Your ability to learn from history is apparently deeply limited, if there's such a term, to be deeply limited. Yeah, let's bring in all these people who hate the Jews into Europe. That won't be a problem. Another way of looking at the moral battle of the world is not just good versus evil. That's certainly the most obvious way. Another way is the builders and destroyers. That is another way. The Palestinians' record is destruction. That's why they are loathed in the Arab world. They helped destroy Lebanon when they went there en masse. They helped ruin Jordan, and Jordan got rid of them. Massacred, by the way, many, which I don't defend, I'm just telling you. And Egypt did the same thing with the Palestinians and God. The Palestinian moral record is despicable, just despicable. It is filled with torture and blood and corruption. Yasser Arafat had a vast fortune of money, and he is the idol of the Palestinians. If you murder a Jew, you are a hero and a martyr and a saint in Palestinian society. There are some terrific Palestinians. That is a given. But the Palestinian record is one of destruction. The left's record is one of destruction. All they do is destroy. America built and built and built with errors and with flawed human beings, but it built. And all they do is destroy. And the same with the Islamic fundamentalist. They destroy. You know, I was thinking about this. All the Muslims who've come to the United States in the last 2 generations, and basically, there's some of them are wonderful people. I keep adding that because I will be misquoted, so I add that regularly. But how do you get an Ilhan Omar and a Rashida Tlaib who hate the United States? These people should be waving the American flag in gratitude, in tears of joy and love for this country. You know, there are all these Christian hospitals, Catholic hospitals, and Jewish hospitals. Are there any Muslim hospitals? Did these people, many of whom became wealthy, did they build a hospital for general use? Maybe they did, and I'm just not aware of it. What they build are groups like CARE, who loathe America, who loathe the West, and that's what they do. And give us people like Tlaib and Omar. We'll be back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dennis Prager Show. I hope you had a good weekend. It's hard to have a good weekend when the world is so awful. But you still have to try, because you can't let the bad get too depressed. And I mean that. It's a victory for the bad folks, for the destroyers. That is what I mentioned last hour, is a new way or a better way. No, it's not a better way. It's a clarifying way of describing good versus evil, those who build versus those who destroy. And the left destroys, and the Islamist world, not all Muslims, but the Islamist, that is the fundamentalist Islamic believer, they're in collusion to destroy the West, the greatest thing that was ever constructed in human history. That's why so many people want to move here, and apparently, in some cases, then destroy it, like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. They have a special level of disgrace, given that they're ingrates. I have a particular dislike for ingrates. So does God, by the way, whether you believe in God or not, but just the narrative in the Bible, God's anger at the Israelites for not being grateful for the Exodus. That's really what bugs him the most, is that they keep complaining. Which reminds me, you want to have a meaningful, truly meaningful, even life-changing Christmas gift, is to give any of the 3 volumes of my Bible commentary that are out. The 4th is coming out next year. There will be 5 in total. If you read the reviews of the Rational Bible, that's the series name, on Amazon, you will see how it has affected people, atheists, agnostics, and already religious. It's called the Rational Bible. It doesn't matter which volume you give, Genesis, Exodus, or Deuteronomy. In case you never heard of Deuteronomy, which is the 5th of the 5 books of Moses, just know that was the book that the founders of the United States cited more than any other book, secular or religious. Deuteronomy. So I have those 3 out. The Rational Bible, it's a great gift. If you get it through the Prager store, there's an autographed copy. Otherwise, you get it through Amazon or wherever you get a book. The Rational Bible. They're beautifully printed, gorgeously printed, by the way. I give credit to Regnery, my publisher. That's transformative. Wall Street Journal has been really, really good in its editorial pages, really good in its opinion pages. Black Lives Matter and the world's oldest hatred. The group's praise for Hamas's, quote, resistance, unquote, comes as no surprise to those paying attention. During the previous round of major violence between Israel and Hamas in May 2021, Black Lives Matter made its position clear. Black Lives Matter stands in solidarity with Palestinians, it tweeted. We are a movement committed to ending settler colonialism in all forms and will continue to advocate for Palestinian liberation. It's worth noting, incidentally, that this settler colonialism applies to all of Israel. They don't believe that they were just settler. They called just settlers, let's say on the West Bank. They called the people they murdered in southern Israel settlers. Every Jew in Israel is a settler colonialist, worthy of death, including babies. After Hamas's October 7th attack on Israeli civilians, the same activists were just as unambiguous about which side they were taking and why. While the body count was still being tallied, BLM groups in LA, Chicago, and Washington issued statements supporting Hamas's tactics. Quote, "Their resistance must not be condemned but understood as a desperate act of self-defense." Nothing like killing babies as an act of self-defense. BLM Grassroots in Los Angeles wrote on Instagram, as a radical black organization, it sees clear parallels. We see clear parallels between black and Palestinian people. Are you aware of any of those parallels? BLM Chicago tweeted an image of a Hamas paraglider with a Palestinian flag attached to his parachute and the caption, "I stand with Palestine." In 2016, 4 years before George Floyd was killed by police, BLM released an official platform that referred to Israel as an apartheid state and declared that America is, quote, complicit in the genocide taking place against the Palestinian people. So this is 7 years before the current war, and they were still committing genocide to a population that is growing. That's quite an ineffective genocide, shall we say. Genocide. Now, this was one of the reasons I'm reading this to you. In 2020, an open letter that endorsed the BLM movement appeared as a full-page ad in the New York Times. It was signed by more than 600 Jewish organizations, including the Anti-Defamation League, which exists to fight anti-Semitism. If accusing Israel of genocide isn't defamation of Jewish people, I don't know what is, the writer of this piece in the Wall Street Journal wrote. That's correct. Yet Jonathan Greenblatt, the executive director of the Anti-Defamation League, is a prominent defender of BLM. There are those who are attempting to smear this movement as inherently anti-Semitic, Mr. Greenblatt wrote in September 2020. It is not. It's hard to believe 600 Jewish organizations. Are you familiar with that ad? Are there 600 Jewish organizations? Took out an ad supporting BLM?
Oh, yeah, that I believe.
That you believe?
Yeah.
Wow. The Anti-Defamation League and Jonathan Greenblatt, they are a waste in Jewish life. They're a total waste. If the Anti-Defamation League closed, no one would know it.
It's worse than a waste.
It's worse than a waste. It's destructive. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Because they're lefties.
Yeah.
Left-wing Jews do as much destruction as left-wing non-Jews. There's no difference. Yeah. But, of course, the board of directors of ADL won't fire Jonathan Greenblatt for signing this ad and for stating that BLM is not anti-Semitic. No. Probably because the board of the ADL agrees. They're as big a bunch of fools as he is. Treasure the good people in your life. They're rare. People who think clearly and morally and have strength, God, guard those people, treasure them in your life. I do. It's a major source of my strength. But I'm very lucky, being as public a figure as I am, I get to meet the most wonderful people. If I only met Douglas Murray, I would be rich. God, as he turned out to be a force for good and clarity. Good cannot exist without clarity, anyway. 1-8-Prager 776-877-243-7776. Didn't Major League Baseball put BLM on the pitcher's mound? Did the NFL put it in the end zone? Is there a major institution from sports to universities not run by cowards? I'm not kidding. It's a very honest question. Remember, cowardice is built into the human condition. Very few people are born courageous. Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, the NFL, it doesn't matter. Disney. It's not conviction. You think the average administrator of Major League Baseball thought that Black Lives Matter was a good... Maybe they did, actually. Maybe they did. Back in a moment. I have a way for you to save serious money on your phone bill. It's with Pure Talk. Sounded too good to be true, and before I recommend anything to you, I have to use it. So I actually got a phone through Pure Talk. I see no difference between its 5G service and that of AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon, except that the price is about half the price. $35 a month, unlimited text, unlimited talk, and 15 gigabytes of data. Plus, I always forget that. You get a free 5G phone if you sign up for the unlimited text, unlimited talk, 15 gig plan. A Moto G 5G phone free. 2-day battery life, quad pixel camera, a lot more. Dial pound 250 on your current phone and say Dennis Prager. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Pound 250 and say Dennis Prager. This is from The Spectator. I don't see much reason for hope for Canada. There's still hope for the United States. We're hanging on with great damage done by the left. But Canada, under Trudeau, is just... what they arrest people for what they say, and that Trudeau, remember this? Remember when the truckers went on strike? It's amazing. People have no memories. I realize that. There is such a bombardment of news that if it happened 2 months ago, it's not remembered. There is no amount of bad, apparently, that a leftist can do that is ever recalled. The man said to banks, don't allow these truckers access to their money. By the way, now a lot of those on the left say, we never fired people. We never had mandates. No, not us. The teachers' unions lie because the teachers' unions are about as despicable an organization as exists in the United States of America. Teachers' unions are despicable. The damage they do to children is incalculable and to society. So they lie because truth is not a left-wing value. We were never for school closure. That's what they now say. Randy Weingarten has said that. What group is she? What, NEA?
Yeah.
National Education Association? One of the great things that a new president could do is shut down the Department of Education. The Department of Education, since it was created, education in America has deteriorated. That is the record of the Department of Education. if you are officially an educator, I don't mean teacher, but got a PhD in education, in an education association, in a teachers union, you should spend the rest of your life repenting. Anyway, back to Trudeau. So the Spectator notes, over the last decade, 2014 to 2023, I wonder if you saw this, the Canadian economy has grown at a proverbial snail's pace. Per capita GDP inching up 0.8%, less than 1% a year. That's Canada's slowest growth over a 10-year period since the 1930s and the Great Depression. And he's popular. Is there anything a leftist could do that would render the person or the party unpopular? Anything? I would be a much better Prime Minister of Canada than Justin Trudeau. At least I can name all 10 provinces. I've been to 9 of them. I've never been to Prince Edward Island. Neither have most Canadians. So what do you say to that?
How many people live in Prince Edward Island?
Very few. It's well under 1 million. Yeah, I think it's in the low hundreds of thousands. Take a look. I've spoken in 9 provinces, but I never got an invitation to speak in Prince Edward Island. I'm not sure there are many invitations to speak there. But if you are listening there and invite me, I would like to be able to say I spoke in all 10 provinces. I've spoken in 48 states. But I missed both Dakotas. I've been to the 2 Dakotas many times. Well, not many times. South Dakota many times. 175,000 people? Yeah. That is really, it's really something. The worst economy since the Depression in Canada, and he may be reelected, or at least his party. I'm telling you, I came up with this idea today on the show that another way to explain good versus evil in the world is destroyers versus builders. The left only destroys. Tell me something good they have made. I'll give you a chance. It's toughy. Liberals have built. Conservatives build. Conservatives conserve what has been built. It's our task. And the left destroys. The Islamist, not the Islamic. The Islamist world is destroyed. That's why they love each other. They have nothing in common, theoretically, except hatred of the West and of Israel. That's key. After all, Israel is an outpost of Western civilization in the Middle East, which is so ironic. That's their admission. They loathe the West. They don't want anything Western, whether it's women's rights, human equality, tolerance, openness, dialogue, dissent. They don't want anything from the West. That is the Islamist in their Middle East. The Palestinians are chief among them. Not all Palestinians, for those recording my show. But it doesn't matter. Not all Germans were Nazis, not all Russians were communists. But it didn't really matter, did it? Wall Street Journal, patriotism's decline imperils the military. Trying to appeal to woke young people will only make the recruitment problem more severe. If you want to know the proof, I didn't know this till I read a lot about this weekend. The Marines are doing fine in recruitment. They don't do woke recruiting. Isn't that interesting? Did you know, folks? I didn't know this till I read this in Newsweek and the Wall Street Journal, that they used a drag queen in ads to recruit people.
Yeah.
Do you know what a smear of the memory of centuries of American military, that is. They used a drag queen? You knew that?
Yeah.
Did you tell me?
Yeah.
Got a good idea for you for a holiday gift. I usually say Christmas, but this is for any holiday, or even no holiday. It's the Best Hot Grill. It's the Rasmussen Solaire Grill. It's a remarkable thing. The Solaire infrared grill from besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. They heat up to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. Not bad, eh? They're a gift that will be used. Every time anybody uses it, they'll think of you as they eat delicious food. They're made in the United States, made to last. Solaire infrared grills. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grill at besthotgrill.com. besthotgrill.com. To attract Generation Z recruits to the armed forces after President Biden's election, just another example of this utterly destructive Democratic Party, because it wouldn't have mattered. See, Biden, Schmeiden. It's irrelevant. Any Democrat. The military changed its marketing strategy. Starting in 2021, the military released advertisements emphasizing individualism, which is fine, and diversity. Oh, diversity. Over assimilation into a cohesive force with shared martial values. That's right. The Army called its campaign a distinct departure from traditional recruiting. The military's recruitment crisis has only grown worse. Young white Democrats have lost faith in their country and are rejecting military service. That's exactly correct. Young white Democrats. That's what they've been taught as a Democrat, to crap on America. 19% of young white American male Democrats wanted to serve. 19%, as recently as 2015. Now, by 2021, white Democrats had plunged. Guess what percentage of young white Democrats would even just check off a box, I would serve, I would like to serve? 3%. That's 1/4 the level among black and Latino men, 1/8 of white Republicans. So which party do you think is more likely to produce a thriving America, the Democrats or the Republican? It is a shame if you are a member of the Democratic Party. It's a shame. And I love people, there are people in my extended family whom I adore who are members of the family. It is a shame that they are. That's all. It's as simple as that. They think it's a shame that I voted for Donald Trump. I get it. But Donald Trump is one man, and Donald Trump was president for 4 years and basically did a lot of good. Okay? That's just the way I perceive it. And they can't perceive otherwise. What bad did he do as president? Anyway, that's an incredible statistic, isn't that? As recently as 2015, 20% of young white Democrats said it's a good thing to serve. Be a good thing for them to serve. 2% now. Was it 2 or 3? 3%. Whereas 24% of white Republicans say they would want to serve. That's a loss of about 45,000 young men interested in serving. The total recruiting gap across the Army, Navy, and Air Force combined, notice not Marines, notice, is about 30,000 people. Extended military families produce 80% of recruits. Wow. There are clear warnings that military families are questioning the values of the institution. In 2021, 65% of teens in military households said they wanted to serve. 1 year later, the figure was 44%. All the left does is destroy. It's really, really easy to destroy, my friends. Really easy. Building's tough. To solidify its traditional support, the military needs to end its naive attempt to lure young liberals by featuring drag queens, rainbow bullets. Did you know about rainbow bullets? Aha! I'm looking at you. Did you come up with that idea? Rainbow bullets. Oh, that's gonna really do it. LGBTQ solidarity bullets. Representing pride, and anime depicting the military as a refuge from childhood trauma. Join the military. Get free therapy. Wonder what Dwight Eisenhower and General MacArthur, Douglas MacArthur, and the guy who stormed Normandy Beach would think. I think I know. A magnificent product is called Relief Factor. You could probably recite what I'm about to say, and I'm not reading anything. They're all extemporaneous because I use and adore this product. Which leaves me with the question of why you're not trying it if you have joint or muscle pain. I can't believe that it's the 1995. I picked up an order for somebody the other day at Kentucky Fried Chicken. One person they had a 4-piece and a medium-sized drink, and it was a drop under $20. That's really something. If there was no, that was it. There was no more, no dessert. I don't know if they serve dessert. So when I say it's worth skipping a lunch to try Relief Factor if you have pain, I mean it sincerely. $19.95 for a 3-week try. It doesn't work in 3 weeks. Cancel your order. That's what they recommend. ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384. Reading to you about the left's destruction of the military. Rainbow bullets. That's gay pride, LGBTQ pride bullets. And drag queens trying to get the people into the service. Wow. Now, drag queen, let's be honest, it's not exactly what one thinks of when one thinks of masculine. And masculinity is pretty important in fighting. By contrast, the Marine Corps exceeded its 2022 recruiting goals by sticking to its traditional recruiting model. The Marines focused on recruiting those eager to serve, emphasizing team over self and discipline instead of rose gardens. That was the Wall Street Journal. Same theme, Newsweek. Title of piece, Americans don't want to fight for their country anymore. In May, the Navy came under fire for inviting Joshua Kelly, who's in the Navy, a drag queen by the name Harpy Daniels, to become a digital ambassador to, quote, reach a wide range of potential candidates. Do you realize how stupid these people are? A wide range of potential candidates for the armed forces using a drag queen? At the time, a spokesperson for the Navy said, quote, it stands by any person who is willing to take an oath to put their life on the line in defense of this nation. It's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with the issue. We all stand by anybody who wants to put their life on the line for the nation. That's not the question. The question is, how are you going to recruit people using a drag queen. Then in July, the Army received backlash for publishing a profile of Major Rachel Jones, a transgender servicewoman. Now, that's going to attract a lot of guys. Yep. That's right. In your platoon, you're going to have a woman who says she's a man. The military is also facing a high level of unfitness to serve among the general population. As of 2020, it assessed that 77% of those between 17 and 24 years of age were unqualified due to medical reasons, drug use, or criminal records. Well, this was not the case in the past. The America I grew up in now seems like a dream. Wow, where the male models in films, for example, really did radiate masculinity. Strength, conviction, very often family men. Well, that's our armed forces. Remember, whatever the left touches, it destroys. They're working on the military. Here's a scary piece for you. Sorry, I apologize, but folks, I got to read this stuff. You just have to hear it. The United Nations is escalating its war against conspiracy theories and misinformation by creating an internet of trust. Did you see that? That is scary. The United Nations is another institution that does far more harm than good. It's from the Epoch Times, one of the few great newspapers in America. A powerful UN agency has unveiled a plan to regulate social media and online communication while clamping down on what it describes as, quote, false information, conspiracy theories, sparking alarm among free speech advocates and top U.S. lawmakers. You can't have liberty if you have big institutions with power. That's why the United States was founded to be a republic, not a democracy, and founded deliberately to have the three institutions of government in the United States, the executive, the Congress, and the court, have checks on each other. The founders of the United States knew that people were not basically good. That is the foundation of wisdom. If you think human nature is basically good, you cannot be a wise person. It is not possible. You can be sweet and kind and fuzzy and warm, all nice things, but you can't be wise. Because the foundation upon which your outlook on life is based is so flawed. The more power you give institutions, whether it is the government in Washington or the United Nations or Brussels and the EU, the less liberty you will have. That is what animated Brexit. And since the left has no interest in individual liberty, certainly not free speech, it was radically opposed to Brexit. More power to Brussels was the left's view. More power to the UN. The UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, outlined a series of concrete measures, this is a quote, which must be implemented by all stakeholders, governments, regulatory authorities, civil society, and platforms themselves, in a 59-page report just released. I'll tell you what the ideals of this report are upon our return. I can't believe it. It's the end of the second segment, the second hour. I can't believe it. Well, I'm going to develop this UN thing at length with you because it's so important. Misinformation. Who gave more misinformation about the COVID vaccines and lockdowns? The dissenters or the sheep? Just out of curiosity. Final thought before we take break before the next hour. Front page Los Angeles Times, front page New York Times. The dominant photos on both are Gaza. The dominant photo on the top of the New York Times, taking 3 out of 6 columns, and half the top half. A Palestinian woman holding the body of her baby girl killed Friday in an Israeli strike in Rafah. If we were fighting Nazi Germany today, the New York Times would have a picture of a German family who lost a child. That would be the equivalent. And they would do it. They would do it. Los Angeles Times, front page. Even bigger. 3/5. They have 5 columns. 3/5. Palestinians wait to see if their homes will be struck. There you go. Israel's the bad guy. Isn't that the obvious? The sick world of left-wing media. And people devour this stuff. You can't stop fighting, folks. I'm here, and I am certainly not alone. Massive, massive pushback. The fear of a Republican victory, if you read the left-wing media, as I do regularly, is palpable. They're in trouble, because if it's not Biden, who is apparently very unpopular, if it's not Biden, then how are they going to not have Kamala Harris? Democrats can't reject the vice presidential nominee if it's a black woman. I don't know what they'll do. "2024 will probably not be a relaxed year. So you have to figure out how to tune out on occasion. Not a lot. You have to be able not tune out. I take it back. Compartmentalize. That's one of the keys to happiness. Again, I remind you, a terrific Christmas and Hanukkah gift is my Bible commentary, The Rational Bible. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. Well, let's hear that again. Let's hear it again. That's the man. I have the man who said that originally in Dutch, hit in the head by a windmill, which is clearly not a phrase used in Uruguay, for example. I just want to tell you folks in advance, you are a very lucky person to hear my guest. I tell you that in advance.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. In Holland, straight from Holland, by the way, Leon de Winter, or as Americans would incorrectly say, de Winter. But it is de Winter. We have had him on many times. This is one of the leading writers, one of the greatest living European writers, and perhaps the most prestigious Dutch writer today. Both nonfiction and fiction, which is very rare, by the way. To say that I am a fan of Leon de Winter is to understate the case considerably.
And I am a fan of yours. Here. Look at this.
Oh, my Rational
Dennis
Bible.
Prager,
Oh,
the Rational.
Wow, the Rational Haggadah, was that?
Because you didn't see me for a long time, but I saw you almost daily in the Bible series with Peterson.
Oh, nice.
I enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed you, especially you. It was really.
You did.
You were playful. You were playful.
Yes, that's true. Yes. In fact, Jordan Peterson came over to me after an event we did together, and he said something like this. It was totally seriously. He goes, you're so intense about the most intense issues of life, but you're such a happy guy.
Yeah.
It struck him as needing of an explanation. But you're like that too. You are this happy individual with intense. I mean, I don't know your private life, but you radiate a joie de vivre.
It may be a Jewish deviation.
Oh no, I wish it were.
Yes?
The Jewish deviation is complaining, not
But that's
not
part of
joie
it.
de vivre. Oh, I see. Okay.
Enjoy complaining.
Okay. Oh, I
Talk
see.
to my wife. Talk to my wife.
That's great. Anyway, folks, there is so much to talk about the Netherlands and about the Middle East, and he is one of the great voices. I saw the interview with you in the Times of Israel, and we're going to get to that. Some of your comments are sobering, to say the least. And you were in Israel until a few days before October 7th. And you only left because you were hit by a guy on one of these electric scooters while you were bicycling.
Right. Yeah.
So you had to go back to Holland for surgery. And we spoke earlier, and happily you're recuperating, and I expect you'll be back to your complaining self very shortly.
Oh, yeah. That's the first thing I will do.
The first thing you will do. Fair enough. So let's talk about Holland. Holland, it is amazing how much, I shouldn't say Holland, it's Netherlands. Right? Holland is a district of the Netherlands, isn't that correct?
We have 12 provinces, and 2 of them, one is North Holland, the other one is South Holland. But we also say Holland.
You do.
It doesn't matter, although officially it's the Netherlands.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's not insulting to say Holland.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay, fine. All right. But I'll say the Netherlands because. But the name of the language is Hollands. Dutch is Hollands in Dutch.
Hollands, Nederlands, Dutch.
Both are used. Okay. So let's talk. So let's begin a little about a year or two back. What did the Dutch government want to do to the farmers of the Netherlands?
It will be a very surprising answer. We have no clue, Dennis. We have no clue because it's completely irrational. Think about it. Maybe the best farmers. You have great farmers. Maybe the Dutch are even a little bit better because we have such limited space.
Right.
They must be extremely efficient.
Productive, yeah.
And productive. And why would you limit this huge output, the second exporters of whatever they do after the U.S.? Can you imagine this?
I did not know
country?
that. Oh, I thought Ukraine was. That's fascinating.
The Dutch.
With this little amount of land.
With this almost nothing and half of it below sea level.
Wow.
Behind the dikes. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Why would you limit this? There must be a master plan, but our government, our leaders were never really clear about the master plan behind all of this. Why would you tell farmers, you better stop with it, we buy your farms, and we do nothing with it, or we build houses on them. What's the master plan? There are some rumors, and there are even some reports, and one of them I read, even a governmental report that says we should transform the Netherlands into one big urban area. And one part of it is for people to live in high rises. They don't need cars anymore.
Of course.
They don't need gardens, and everything should could be reached within, let us say, 15 minutes walk.
Right.
And the rest should be industrialized, big box, internet companies, stuff like that. And we perform as the heart of of an area together with the north of Belgium and the western part of Germany. And we're going to completely reorganize this part of the world. that may be because I don't have any other answer, because we don't understand, because all the arguments they use are complete nonsense. Still, they do this. They
Well,
allocate it.
didn't they give the argument based on global warming on farms being disproportionately productive of methane and carbon dioxide?
Yeah, not really methane stuff. That's because cows
Yes,
they
toot.
produce
Yeah,
a lot of air,
right.
and that's those are the arguments. And at the same time, of course, it's ridiculous to minimize the output of our agriculture. That's what we eat. That's what's in our supermarkets. And where must it come from? Import them with trucks or fly them in from Spain, from wherever, as if that is completely neutral for climate and
Right, right.
methane and whatever. In the end, we don't know. And because we don't know, and the arguments were completely superficial, with they I mean our political elites, our cultural elites, they lost surprisingly confidence of the voter. And that paid out 1.5 weeks ago.
Which is what I'm going to get to now, obviously. So just name me, if you would, the parties. Better. What is there a major political party that opposed these plans?
Yes, they were. There were parties. They were present as a potential power. They didn't have that many votes yet. There was a woman called Caroline van der Plas. She has an Irish mother. That's why she's called. In Dutch, we would say Caroline, but she is Caroline. 1 seat. There was another guy who left the Christian Democrats called Peter Omtzigt. 1 guy. And then we have, of course, the Freedom Party by Geert Wilders, who was also opposed to all of this.
How many seats did the Freedom Party have?
At the moment, they have 37.
No, not with the new elections. Prior to the new elections,
they had 17.
So they had 7. How many seats did the ruling party have, and its allies?
They had in total before the election. They had 76.
So it was overwhelmingly okay with transforming farms into urban areas. Overwhelmingly.
For the ruling parties.
Yeah, for the parties. Turning parties,
Of course.
Okay, back in a moment.
This.
All right. Leon, do you want anybody to know about a recent book before we take a commercial break? Anything to tell people?
Yes, I have. I just have a new novel, but it's only in Dutch.
We'll
come back
All right, we'll
later.
talk about the English ones in a moment. Leon de Winter is my guest in Holland. Dennis Prager here with one of the wonderful people in my life, Leon de Winter, the great Dutch novelist and political commentator. We're talking about the Netherlands, and then we're going to talk about the Middle East. He was in Israel till right before the attack, and he would have been there during the attack had he not been hit while bicycling in Israel. And we're talking about the Dutch Parliament. So the elites in the Netherlands, including obviously the reigning parties, wanted to change Dutch farmland. Again, folks, remember the Netherlands is the second largest exporter of food in the world behind the U.S. This I didn't even know. I knew it was big. I didn't know how big. And they want to wreck that in the name of combating global warming and in the name of making sure that everybody is in a high-rise apartment and does not have the most loathsome thing in the world, a car, which is, I want you to know, I tell everybody my dream of if I designed the Statue of Liberty, it would have a car on top. I identify cars with liberty.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Yeah, well, that's very un-Dutch of you, obviously.
I feel ashamed, yes, but
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I saw plans for these new neighborhoods, these new the new housing, and they must be built without garages.
Oh, that's
So
so important. That's right, of
it's
course. So you can't have
it's
a car.
impossible. You can't
Exactly.
have a car.
Yeah. So it's not even a matter of will they have a way for you to refill your car with electricity. There won't be any
Well,
place to keep the car, so you don't have to power
you
it.
can't. You
You,
can't.
you
buy it.
can't. Yeah, exactly.
No.
It is because if everybody walks or bicycles or goes on public transport, their dream world is realized. I'm not sure why that is a dream world, but in any event, there's nothing I rather have than a Soviet-style high-rise apartment. That yes, faceless,
Yeah.
bland,
Yeah.
non-individual. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all right. So again, because time flies with you, so I want to get this clear for everyone to understand. So you just had elections about 10 days ago in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
and the major opposition party is headed by Geert Wilders, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
or as we say, Gerrit, but I'll say Geert for you, and because I like to do the
Thank you.
real, yes,
Thank you.
my joy. So,
Yeah.
what was the A? What is the name of his party? B, how many seats did he go to?
His party is called PVV, Partij voor de Vrijheid, Party for Freedom, the Freedom Party. They had 17 seats and they went to 37 seats, with which they are the main party. They have most seats of any other party. They're there.
That's
And
that's
and
amazing. That's amazing.
So they gained 20 seats.
Well, they doubled,
More than double.
right?
More than doubled. Yes. Yes.
Wait, I'm
And
curious. So I know you'll tell me the truth. Did you expect this?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Wow.
I did expect this because, apart from media, apart from the pundits, apart from the official commentariat, there is something brewing. And it's the same thing is happening in Germany and France and the UK and Sweden and Italy. It's all over.
And
place.
Argentina.
And Argentina. That is, of course, the awareness, the sensation that our representatives, the political elites, are not representing us, voters, anymore. They have agendas we don't share, that they try to force upon us, whether it's about migration, whether it's about energy, climate, cars, you name it, and people are fed up. They have enough of it. And if you are not dealing with regular folks, I must, of course, all the time also think back of Hillary Clinton and her remarks about Middle America and the people she despises. We have the same here, and they go on, and we're not aware that they are creating a force that's for them unstoppable and that they hate. They cannot control it. Main thing was immigration. That was the main topic. It was not agriculture anymore. It was immigration. That was the main thing. Was climate high on the thing? No. It was, I think, on the list of 10 pressing issues during the election. I think it was number 10. While this is the main tool for our elites. That's what they try to manipulate, remodel our societies. It's all about carbon. That's the main thing, they say, because otherwise we all drown in Holland. or we put the earth on fire. That's the main thing, and they're doing it now. 100,000 people flew to Dubai at the moment. It's fun there. They're sitting in these awful tents in this desert, of course. They eat carrots. 100,000 people are at the climate conference at the moment in Dubai. It was not an issue for our voters here in Holland. Their main thing was immigration, illegal immigration. It must be sound very strange to your ears,
Of course.
being an American. Immigration. Oh, how do you protect your borders? It's a thing here. Inflation, of course, and then a new thing became important after October 7th. Anti-Israel, more or less anti-Semitic demonstrations. And you know what? And that's what I said also to my American friends. I said, wait for the elections. We have to know if the majority of our population, the Dutch, who have not been heroes all the time, and they are silent. Of course, they're silent. They don't go into the streets. How do they vote? Because they will vote also because of these awful sights of thousands of people in our streets shouting for the demise of Israel, from the river to the sea. And in all analyses after the elections, most commentators, and me too, we agree, these demonstrations, the October thing in Israel, played a huge
good. All right.
role.
We're going to talk about that when we come back. I can't wait till we come back. Every year, for 25 years, my cruises with listeners have sold out, but it always happens that people cancel for good or bad reasons. A kid got married, or somebody got sick, or whatever it might be. So there are a few openings for the trip this coming June, and it is on one of the great ships of the world. And what is really amazing is it goes from England to Iceland to Greenland. How many people get to Greenland? I can't wait for that. And the best part is you meet terrific people, fellow listeners. Many people make lifelong friends on my cruises. Go to Prager Listeners at Coastline Travel. Again, Prager Listeners at coastlinetravel.com. Or call 800-345-2483. Prager Listeners at coastlinetravel.com, 800-345-2483. Leon de Winter, one of Holland's leading writers and thinkers, indeed one of the best thinkers we have today anywhere. And Leon is recuperating from being hit by a guy on a scooter. And you're looking great, by the way, I got to tell you. Although, I'm very ambivalent about telling anyone they look great because of a joke you'll appreciate, because you have a dark sense of humor. There are 3 ages in the human being: youth, middle-aged, and you're looking great.
Wow.
I knew you.
That's a really great joke. And it's so true. It's awfully, disgustingly true.
Yeah, that's why when I'm told I look great, I go, oh no. And if I tell somebody they look great, I'm thinking, am I insulting them? It's ruined it for me. That joke it's now ruined for you. Permanent.
No, I'm going to use it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Don't tell your wife she looks great.
No.
Okay,
no,
fine.
never.
Yes, exactly. All right. So back to the Netherlands, and this is now. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. I mean, I knew about Geert Wilders winning and so on, but I did not know what role October 7th in Israel played in your election. So go ahead.
Huge thing. A huge thing. And that it was an important moment. I was living towards that moment because Wilders is a huge supporter of Israel. He went there as a young man. I think he worked in a kibbutz for 2 years. He traveled around, is back to Israel at least once a year.
Wow.
So, which is a very rare. He's a rare phenomenon in that regard. It's hard to find a similar guy in Europe with this kind of connection to Israel.
Wow.
At the same time, of course, and that has darkened his reputation for many people, is his very clear stance against Islamism. And he has all kinds of things, ideas. It was in his party program about we have to close down many mosques. Maybe we should forbid, cancel the publication, the sale of the Quran, stuff like that. He went way too far with that. But to a certain degree, it had some entertainment value, although it was also quite offending. You have to stop somewhere. He changed his tune already a couple of weeks before the election. He said, listen, I'm not crazy. I now have to stick to the Constitution. I will not transpass that. It's important. We think we're ready to create a government. And October 7th happened. And that changed a lot in this country. And I think his gain of 20 seats cannot be explained when you don't look at the disgust of many Dutchmen who saw people in the streets, often children of migrants, Muslim kids, waving Hamas flags, shouting the most disgusting things. And for once, the Dutch made it clear they are not accepting this. They don't want to live with this. We don't go as far as the Germans. The Germans are forbidding even the slogan from the river to the sea. You will be arrested if you shout it in the streets of Berlin. Can you imagine that the Germans are doing this? They close down mosques that are supporting Hamas. That's what the Germans are doing. They go a step further. They really bring the whole Israel thing really to the limit, because they say we have a special responsibility. And the German Prime Minister says the German existence is completely interwoven with the existence of Israel. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. I read the speech.
A German guy.
Yeah.
He did it.
The president.
A German politician.
Yeah.
Saying a thing like this. In our country, that role was Wilders. So suddenly that became a huge thing. Together with migration, inflation, rising cost, of course.
All right, we'll continue in a moment. This is riveting and important. Thank you. Leon de Winter. Look him up because his books are translated into English as well. Well, I make the argument regularly for you to try Relief Factor if you have joint or muscle pain, because it works. It works for me. I understood that it was legitimate because it worked for my wife before I even ever advertised it. It's a remarkable product. It's completely drug-free. Try it for 3 weeks because they say you'll know in 3 weeks if it works. If it doesn't work in 3 weeks, cancel your order is what they say. 3-week price is $19.95, which, as I pointed out, I picked up an order for a friend of Kentucky Fried Chicken, 4 pieces, and a medium soda. That was it. It was almost $20. I think it was $18 or something. So I personally would go without lunch if I could get rid of joint and muscle pain just to try it out. There's no question. ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384, 3-week quick start, $19.95. Leon de Winter, one of the leading writers in Europe, and of course in the Netherlands, describing what happened. So it's sort of an earthquake in the Netherlands with Geert de Wilders, who was hasn't he been to a PragerU? Where was I with him? Wasn't a PragerU event?
I don't think so.
No, okay. I was with him here in the United States, and of course the left here, all the elite hate him as much as the elite in Europe hate him, like they hate Trump and they hate Netanyahu and they hate the new elected leader of Argentina and they hate Orban. If you're anti-left, you're hated. It's just even if you're not left, you're hated. It doesn't. You don't even have to be anti-left. Okay, and he's very pro-Israel. So you're telling me this is fascinating. What date were the elections in the Netherlands?
The date?
Yeah.
It was 22nd of November.
Oh, okay. So it was 6 weeks after the atrocities in Israel. Okay.
Yes.
But it was
While the media
yeah.
were changing its tune. Of course, the first days, like in the U.S.
Of course.
In shock about what happened.
Right.
And then suddenly it was, well, maybe the reaction of Israel is worse than what happened on October 7th. You know, this exactly the same thing happened in Holland. All the main TV stations, all the main newspapers, apart from one, my own newspaper. And
is yours at Parool?
no, the Telegraph.
Oh, okay.
The Telegraph.
Okay.
The Telegraph.
Yeah.
The Telegraph. The main news, the number one newspaper. And
wait, forgive me. The number one
yes,
newspaper in Holland is pro-Israel?
Is pro-Israel, yes.
You're kidding me.
Very outspoken.
Oh.
Very outspoken. Very clear.
I'm moving to Holland.
Yeah, well. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
But don't get hit by a windmill. But be careful.
No, it's a very, and I'm too tall. It's a problem. You're right.
It's a problem.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, and the majority of the population, it doesn't care about the media. You just pointed at the New York Times and the LA Times. Most people don't care. They don't see the newspapers. They have their own opinion. They get their information through other channels. The same in Holland. Whatever the media did, whatever our main politicians said, although most were very careful about October 7th. But the people voted, and now all the leftist parties put together. It has never been this low in history in the Netherlands. They only have 49 out of 150 seats. Only 1/3 is of the seats in parliament is taken by leftist parliamentarians. The rest is center and right of center, or a bit more to the right, like the Wilders party. That's an earthquake. That never happened. And absolutely, what people saw in the street, the children of Muslim migrants shouting for Hamas and kill the Jews, that's what the majority of this population, that's a sign of decency. It was a vote, it was a civilized vote. That's not what migration was meant for. And many people suddenly realized that with the immigration of people from North Africa and the Middle East, we also brought into our country the issues of North Africa and the Middle East. We brought in their sense of religiosity, their sense of how to deal with their answers to the questions of life and death. And they didn't give it up. They did not assimilate. A large part of there were of course assimilation. They were also nutty migrants that you had in the U.S. of well-educated people from the Middle East and the North Africa. No, we got the poor people from Anatolia in eastern Turkey. We got the people from the Rif Mountains in Morocco. And both groups, also in Morocco and also Turkey, are being regarded as backwards or as uneducated peasants. They came to our areas and they failed to a large degree of assimilating and bring their children up to date with our customs, with our conviction that you have to separate state and church, that you have to go to school, finish your school. Um, and we saw their children walking in the streets, shouting the most awful things. And again, the Dutch voted against it. It played an immense role.
Wow. We'll see if that plays out in the United States, because they're threatening. Virtually every Arab American group is threatening that they'll defect from the Democratic Party if Biden does not demand a ceasefire. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. Well, some of us warned Europe and the United States about the immigration. People may come with no clothing, no luggage, no money, but they come with their values. They don't leave those at home. And one of those values was loathing Western civilization and loathing Jews. Two of those values. They usually go together, I might add.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, we're going to come back for one more segment. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm with you, which is a joy. Leon de Winter, D-E, next word, winter, as in the season. Look him up on Amazon, because some of his books are translated into English. And they're major works in Europe. We'll be back in a moment. I'm Dennis Prager. Reminder before I go back to Leon de Winter in Holland. I'm speaking tomorrow night in New York City at Columbia University, and I just got word that there are at least 200 students coming. So if you know a student or faculty member at Columbia, please let them know it is not open to the public. It is only open to students and faculty at Columbia. So that should be an interesting evening. Leon de Winter, the great writer, novelist, and thinker in Holland. So this is what you're telling me now. It gives me some hope, actually.
Yes. Isn't it surprising? I was really moved by that. It was the legacy of the Second World War in Holland. It's not nice.
Right.
People looked away. The majority looked away, which is to a certain degree understandable. Of course, it was dangerous to help Jews, to hide Jews. My parents were hidden by by heroes, by very courageous people, by a group of Catholic priests and nuns saved my parents. They helped him find new hiding places. It's amazing. They were there, but it was a very tiny minority of the overall population. But this, of course, it's a different situation. Still, to show your solidarity, to tell yourself and the whole nation, we cannot accept this. We cannot live with the way these people talk about Jews, about killing Jews, about driving them into the sea. We're not accepting this. It's amazing. This was an issue together with all the other issues, but it was completely intertwined, interwoven with the migration thing.
Of course.
It was suddenly an awareness. What did we do with our new...
These are not the native Dutch screaming from the river to the sea, Israel will be destroyed.
Of course.
That's the point.
Young women, lots of young women with pink hair.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, of course. The radical left, just like here. That's correct.
The queers for Palestine.
Queers for Palestine, because they would do well in Palestine. They're noted.
Great.
They're noted.
Yeah, they know.
All right, well, I have to have a part two, because you told the Times of Israel there won't be Jews in Europe by 2050.
No.
So we don't have the time now. I'm just, this is like a preview of part two. Leon, recuperate well. And thank you.
I will. It was such a joy to see again the sparkle in your eyes. I'm not going to say you look
Great.
good. You look younger. You look younger. It's even worse than what you told me.
You're right. That's right. Leon de Winter. He's the best. Dank u. Dank u.
Dank je. Dank.